Today we're going to be talking about AutoCAD. AutoCAD looks like this. You can go ahead and click on it. It'll open up, and when you start, there's a couple of areas. This is the recent document, so if you had started a drawing yesterday, it might be here waiting for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new document, and I'm going to go ahead and open one of these for a blank screen. And here we have a blank drawing ready for us, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the different menus here. So at the top here we have the AutoCAD logo, and if you click on this you have a number of options here. This right here is called the application menu. Next to that we have the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar allows us to create a new object, open up out of a folder, save as, print, undo, and redo. There are a number of other things you can put in here. The next section I'd like to talk about is the ribbon. The ribbon is the section that goes across the top here, and this has all of the commands and icons that you might need to use the program. There are also tabs across the top that have different ribbons. Most of the time the ribbon will change to your needs. Right now, home is the ribbon that most people will need. Underneath that we have tabs. These file tabs tell us we can go back to the start, we can go to the drawing that we just started, and if we want to start a new one we can just click there and it will open up a new drawing for us. We have a view cube. The view cube is used mostly for 3D views. We also have over here, this section right here is called viewport controls. The viewport controls allow us to also change the views similar to what this allows us, and it also changes the style of the view. For 2D we won't be needing that either. Over here we have the navigation bar. The navigation bar has a couple of things that we'll use. This hand is pan. Pan allows us to move the drawing up and down, left and right. Beneath pan we have the zoom. There are a number of different types of zooms. The one that's currently selected is zoom extents, which will blow up the drawing to the full screen. If I click on that, there we go. The next thing I want to mention is the center area where you can draw. This is called the drawing window. This is where your design will be made. Underneath the drawing window we have the command window. The command window is a place where it will ask you different things about what you're currently making, and you have the ability to type certain commands into this command window to allow you to make your drawings. For example, I can type right now the letter L and hit enter, and it knows that when I type L it's a line. So now I can just click and draw a set of lines. When I'm done with my lines I can hit spacebar, enter, or right click, and it will complete it. Down at the bottom we have the application status bar. Down here along the bottom, this is the application status bar. Now, the application status bar, when something is in blue, that means it is on. When it is in white, that means it is off. I'm going to go through a couple of these. Right here is the grid. If we click on that, it turns on and off the grid. And the snap mode, when I turn the snap mode on and I draw a line, notice my mouse will only go where the grid is. It won't go between the grid points. If you want to turn that off, you just simply turn it off, and now you can see I can put my mouse anywhere. The next one is ortho mode. Ortho mode makes it so you can only go horizontal or vertical. Horizontal or vertical. So you can go down in any direction, but only horizontal and vertical. That is helpful when you're drawing something that is very geometric and has straight sides. The next one I want to mention is the O-snap. Everyone say O-snap. O-snap is an object snap. An object snap has a number of different types. We have endpoint snap, which snaps to the end of any line. Midpoint snap, that attaches to the midpoint of any line. The center, which will go to the center of any circle or arc. Quadrant will go to the top, bottom, left, and right of any circle. Intersection is any place where two lines or circles or arcs cross. Extension is right here. You could use extension because this line doesn't exactly hit this line, so you could hover over the endpoint and then it will imagine a line that extends to this point, and when you click here, now you can start here. Perpendicular is a line that is perpendicular to another line. Tangent is any place where a line or a curve touches a circle at just one point. Nearest is any point on any line that's near your cursor. An apparent intersection is where two lines don't but could intersect or appear to intersect. And then you can also have a parallel line, a line parallel to another. So next we're going to talk about line. Line can be chosen by either clicking on the line icon, or you can type in L in the command window. Once you start line, you have to start by creating a first point. If you read down here in the command window, it says line, specify first point. So we can do this simply by clicking anywhere we wish. Now, if you want to do this in a more organized manner, you may use the grid. If we turn on step mode on, we can then draw objects that are on the grid, and we can't draw anything but points on the grid. The next thing I'm going to show you is object snap. Object snap, there's a number of different object snaps, and if we go into snap settings, here they all are. Endpoint is represented by a square. The endpoint of a line is this point right here. Midpoint is represented by a triangle. It would be the center point on this line, about right there. The center is the center of a circle or a curve. Quadrant is the top, bottom, left, and right of a circle. Intersection is where two lines cross. Extension is when you have a line like this and you will have points that are an extension of this line that either go vertical, horizontal, or continue out from this line. They're not lines that actually exist. It's extended, and the computer imagines that they exist. Perpendicular is if we drew a line from this line to this line, we could draw a line from this line to perpendicular on this line. Nearest is helpful when we are looking to create just a line that goes any place on another line. But nearest will hit any point on the line, and I'll show you some of these. Alright, so, and then the last one I want to talk about is tangent. Tangent, a lot of times you'll have to turn off each of these to use tangent, but tangent creates a point or a line that hits a circle at just a single point. Okay, so let's go through some of these. I'm going to draw a circle, and we're going to draw the circle at the end point of this line to the center point or the midpoint of this line. You can see that it's represented by the triangle. Next, I want to create a point that is on the quadrant. The quadrant is the top, bottom, left, and right of a circle. So, if we create a line from this point to this point, we've drawn this line from a quadrant to another quadrant. We can continue going around the circle like that and make a square. Next thing I want to show you is the center. So if we draw a line from the center of this circle, you'll see, well, let's draw a new circle so you can see that it's really just going to the center of the circle. You can see that's represented by the green circle. And now I can go out and make a triangle like that. Next one we want to look at is tangent. So what I would like to do is I would like to turn off each of these, turn on tangent, and what I want to do is I want to draw a line that's tangent to this circle and tangent to this circle. So I'm going to turn off the grid snap so I can freely move my mouse around, and from here to here, and you can see how now it creates a nice smooth transition from this circle to that circle. Another one is nearest. Nearest is helpful when you're just simply trying to find a point on a line, but it can cause problems. You typically want to turn nearest off, and I'll show you why. If I put nearest on and I'm trying to find the tangent of this circle, you can see that every point is nearest. So it's only helpful sometimes, but if you really want your end point or midpoint or center point, you need to have nearest off. The next one I want to talk about is intersection. So we want to come not from the midpoint and not from the end point, but the intersection of these two lines, and you can see it's represented by an X. So from that point to maybe the midpoint of this line. And so that's a quick introduction to snaps. Now, if you want to draw a line and you don't simply just want to click anywhere and you don't want to use the grid, there are a couple of other ways to do this. If you imagine this point where this green line and this red line meet is a 0, 0. This is the origin of a graph that has a grid. Well, you can start by just typing in the Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian coordinates are an XY system of coordinates. So if I type in 2, 2, 2, 2, enter, we should, let's see here, 2, 2, we start right at the origin of this line, right there, which is 2 up and 2 over from the origin. Now I can type 4, 5, 4, 5, and it will bring me 4 over and 5 up. So this is a Cartesian coordinate system. Now imagine I want to create a triangle. Well, if I want to create a triangle, I want to move 4 down and none in left to right. So I want to, or let's go 5 down. So I want to type in 0, comma, 0, comma, -5. And that brings me down to aligned with this. And then I can click over here, but I could also do -4, comma, 0, and close that. And then when I'm finished, I can just hit spacebar. Okay, so that is the way to use Cartesian coordinates. The next thing I'm going to talk about is polar coordinates. Now with polar coordinates, you're telling the computer the distance and the angle that you want it to draw. So right here, this is at 1.25 inches at the angle of 285 degrees. So if I start my line, for instance right here, and I type in at 1.25, the angle of 285, and hit enter, I will get a 1.25 line that's at 285 degrees. Now if you imagine that at this point was the origin, and straight over was 0 degrees, straight up was 90 degrees, straight this way is 180 degrees, and straight down was 270 degrees. You can see that what I have here is 15 degrees right of 270 degrees. Okay, so let's draw the next one, 1.25 at 0 degrees. Well, 0 degrees would be straight to the right. So at 1.25, angle of 0. Alright, so that looks correct. And that is 2 ways of drawing lines without using grid and without just clicking anywhere you wish. They're coordinate systems that allow us to draw. There are a number of quick keys to use in AutoCAD. One of the more useful quick keys is when you're drawing an object. So say I go up to draw a line and I start drawing an object and I'm finished drawing, but I want to connect this point that I just finished to the original point. I can simply press the C and hit enter. And C is for close, and it closes this object. Now what if, let's erase this, so we'll go up to erase, select our object, hit spacebar, and it'll delete. So let's say I was drawing another object, and as I was drawing this, I was drawing a very simple car, and I accidentally drew this up when I wanted to draw it down. Now I want to go back, but I just want to go back this far. So I can press the letter U and hit enter, and that undoes my previous command. And you can see that down here it says line specify next point, or C for close, or U for undo. Always look to this menu down here for options to use while you draw. Next I want to talk about circles. There are a number of types of circles that you can draw in AutoCAD. If I click here, you can see there's center radius, where you choose the center of a circle and the radius, the distance for the radius. There's center diameter, which is you choose the center of the circle and then you enter in the diameter of the circle. There's a 2-point circle where you choose 2 points on each side of the circle, opposite from each other. There's a 3-point circle where you create a circle using 3 points that are at opposite ends from each other. There's what's called tangent-tangent radius, and this is, remember, a tangent is a place on a circle where another curve or line crosses that circle in a single point. Okay? So you can imagine, you can see on the screen, the red circle only touches those 2 other curves and circles at a single point. They don't cross twice, they don't cross 0 times, they cross at a single point. And then the third type of circle, or the last type of circle, is a tangent-tangent-tangent circle, which is drawn tangent to 3 lines, curves, or circles. Alright, so I'm going to go through these quickly. Each one, I'm going to show you how they work. So initially, I'm just going to click circle. Now, if you see at the bottom, it gives me the option. It says circle specify center point for circle, or 3P, 2P, or TT, or T for TTR, which is tangent-tangent radius. So, initially, this is set up to simply draw a center radius circle. So you can see specify center point for circle. So I'm going to click the center of the circle. So right now I'm drawing radius. But if you see at the bottom it says specify radius or diameter. Okay? So I can type in D for diameter, or I can type in the distance for the radius, or I can just simply click where I want the radius to be. So I'm going to, in this case, make a 1.5-inch radius circle. And there we have it. Now I'm going to draw another one using diameter. So if I click here and then click, or you type D for diameter, hit enter. Now you can see that my mouse is twice as far away from the circle as it was. And if I type in the same 1.5, I'll get a circle half the size of the previous circle. Okay? So next I want to use the tangent-tangent radius circle. So if I go up to circle and I hit T for tangent-tangent radius, it says specify point on object for the first tangent, so I want this point, and then specify on object for the second tangent, so I want this one. So I'm going to make a circle that's tangent to both of these circles with 1.5. So here I have a 1.5 radius circle that is both tangent to this circle and tangent to this circle. Now imagine I wanted a fourth circle that is tangent to all three of these circles, but I don't know what the radius would be. Well, that is when you use a tangent, tangent, tangent circle. So if I click there and I click these three circles tangent, there it is. Now there was no way for me to know the size of this circle. I just knew that it had to be perfectly tangent to those three circles. That comes in handy when you want to create a constant flow between three lines. The next concept we're going to talk about is text. Now, there is text already on our title blocks, and if you simply double-click on any of these, you can now change the title of the drawing. You can add the date. And when it shows purple, that's when you can edit it. So, for example, we could say June 10th, or we could say 6/2012. 10/2025. Assignment number, you can double click on that and add the assignment number. So editing text on AutoCAD is very easy. Now, to create text, that is also easy. If you go up here to text, there are two types. There's multi-line text, which will make a paragraph, or single line text, which will just make a single line. So they work very similar, and I'm just going to draw a single line. And the first thing I need to do is always read your command bar down here. And it says text. Specify start point of text, or J for justify, S for style. And we'll be looking into that a little bit closer, but I'm just going to click the beginning of my text. And now it wants to know how it's rotated. Well, I just want it straight across. So I'm just going to hit enter, and that will keep this default to 0. So if I hit enter, now I can type in my text. And then hit enter, and then enter again, and that will complete the text. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a couple of the modify tools. Modify is for when you already have something drawn and you want to change it in some way. Select move, select what we want to move, and then grab it and move it. Next thing is copy. So let's say we want to copy this object and we want to move the second copy just to the left. It's kind of like a stamp. Rotate takes, we select what we want to rotate, we hit enter, we select the point we want it to rotate around, and then we can simply rotate it around. Trim, we choose a line that we want to, let's say we want to trim off this part right here. Well, this line cuts this part, so I choose this line first, then I hit enter, and then I choose the part I want to eliminate, and that will trim it off. Then we have extend. So extend is like the opposite of trim. So trim cuts off a piece we don't want, well, extend adds a piece that we don't have. So I want this line to extend to here, but there's no line here. So what I do is I click on this object, which is where I want to extend to, hit spacebar, and then click on the line I want to extend. And you can see that now the line extends to the border line. I also want to make this rounded. So it comes to a point, but I really want a round here. If we click fillet and we read down here, it says select first object or undo polyline, radius, trim, or multiple. We want radius, so we type R for radius, and then we need to specify our radius. The default is 0. So let's say we want a 0.5 radius from here to here. Now you can see there's a ½ radius there. The last thing I want to talk about is offset. Offset takes any object and it will make an object parallel to that object at a specified distance. So, click offset and read down here, specify offset distance. Well, let's put 0.25, hit enter, and then I can choose any line on here and I can get a parallel line to that line that's 1/4 inch away. I can even do circles, and I can make them bigger or smaller, but each circle is 1/4 inch away from each other. So that is called offset. This next video is going to be a short video about how to use your mouse. You can see that there is a roller wheel here. Okay? This is called a scroll wheel. You can press this scroll wheel, and when you press that, it will allow you to move the screen back and forth. It's called pan. Now, if you roll the scroll wheel, it will zoom in and out. If you double click the scroll wheel, it zooms to the extent. Left click button, which is this button, that allows you to choose things. So we can choose to draw lines with the left click button. But when you're finished, you hit the right click button, and then you can hit enter, and that will finish the line.